Hi guys, welcome again. Now to continue our studies with Unit 6 from grade time 4, we're going to take a look at the first grammar topic over here, which is about present and past passive. And important, this is a review, so it means that you have already seen this in previous books, okay? So, just before we go into the exercises, it's very important to remember what's the difference between active voice and passive voice, okay? So, an active voice means that we have a subject doing an action in relation to an object, right? In a passive voice, we usually tend to put the object as a more important part of the sentence, and then we need to make some adjustments in the sentence so that it gives this idea of being the object emphasized, okay? A very easy example for you to see this difference are the following two sentences. So when I say John gave Mary a present, John is the subject, so he is the doer, the person who is taking the action, okay? And Mary is the object, the person who is receiving the present, right? So this is an example of an active voice. But then a passive sentence, I can create the same context, but I put things in different places, so I put an emphasis on a different part of the sentence, right? So I can create a sentence like, Mary was given a present, okay? The picture, yes, that you imagine in these two sentences, they are very similar. In both pictures, you see Mary receiving a present. But in the first one, it is also very important to imagine John doing this action, because I said John gave Mary a present. But in the second one, when I say Mary was given a present, we don't necessarily need to imagine John. We just need to imagine that somebody, a person, gave Mary a present. But that's not very important, right? But there is an option that if I want to say who gave Mary a present, I can do that in the passive voice as well. I just need to complete the sentence with the following information. I can say, Mary was given a present by John, right? So you see that these two sentences, they give us the same idea, the same action is happening, but I am emphasizing different parts of the sentence, right? So, for us to start here, we are going to take a look at the first exercise. And in this first exercise, which is very simple, okay, you need to complete these sentences from the article on page 57 for those who have their books. For those who don't have their books, you can go back to the text about Dynamo, okay, the magician, and you need to use the correct form of be, the verb to be. And later we're going to complete the rule with by, be, and the past participle. So for now, you need to pause the video here, go back to the text, find the sentences here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and complete them according to the text, okay? And then come back here for us to check, all right? Go there. All right, so could you find the sentences? I hope that you could, okay? So now we're going to correct them. Remember, the text was this one, the man who walks on air, okay? So the first sentence says, the man was pulled into the boat. 2 says, of course, hundreds of photos were taken by onlookers. 3, this arm is attached to the bus and is used to support Dynamo's body. And number 4, Some people think he walks on glass boards that are put in the water before. Okay, so here are the sentences that you could find in the text. Let's check our answers. I love this picture here. Like, how does he do that? How does he walk beside a bus, right? That's, for me, it's very interesting. Well done, guys. Very good. So, important things to pay attention over here. Why am I using was here? Because it is referring to the man, which is singular, right? Here, I am using were because I am referring to hundreds of photos, so plural. Here, I am using is because I am referring to this arm, and is again because it's referring again to the same arm. Okay? And in number 4, I am using are because I'm talking about the glass boards, which is plural. Okay? Good. I hope you are happy with these answers, right? So, going back there, we have the rule. And here for the rule, the same thing. I want you to pause the video and I want you to read the rule here, and you have to complete the rule with by, the word by, the word be, and the expression past participle. Okay, so analyze the sentences here, okay, and try to complete the rule over here. So pause the video and complete the rule. Then come back here for us to check. Okay? Very good. All right. So the rule about the passive and active voice is we form the passive with a form of the verb be, so present, past, even future, okay, and the past participle. Remember, all verbs in English, they have at least 3 different forms, right? The infinitive, or the present, right? For example, the verb do. Then the simple past form, which is did, and the third form, which is the past participle, which is done, right? So this is the past participle. And we use the preposition by to say who or what does the action, but only if this is important. Remember the example I gave you about John and Mary. So in the active voice, I say, John gave Mary a present. No be, no past participle, no by. But when I turn this sentence into a passive sentence, I need to say, Mary was given. So was, which is the past form of the verb to be, and given, which is the past participle of the verb give. And continue. Mary was given a present by John. All right? Because I really want to say who did the action. But remember, only if this is important, because I can finish the sentence like this. Mary was given a present. Period. I don't need to continue the sentence. Okay? Good? So, are you ready to practice a little bit more? Let's do that. All right. So, going back here, we have exercise 2. Can you see the picture here? This is a magician cutting a woman in half, right? Always a bit distressing for me, this image. How do you feel about this image? For me, I get goosebumps, like, he's cutting the woman in half. Jesus. All right. For exercise 2, what we need to do, you need to complete the instructions for this trick with the correct active or passive forms of the verbs. Remember, this is a review, so you should by now be able to identify when it's an active or a passive sentence, okay? So we have the verbs here. We have the verb use, which is the used in the example. We have the verb cut, hold, pull, get, push, and hide. And you have sentences 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, again, you're going to pause the video and you need to complete the sentences with the active form of these verbs or the passive form of these verbs. And then you can ask, okay, Rafael, but how do I know this? That's the important part. You need to analyze the sentence and try to check at least if the situation is being described as an active thing or if the situation is being described as a passive action, right? Remember the rule. The rule here is really important for you because sometimes some words can help us identify if it's a passive or an active sentence. Okay? So again, pause the video, complete the sentences with the active or passive voice or passive form of the verbs. And then come back here for us to check. Good luck. Okay, guys, how was that? Difficult? This one is a bit tricky, right? So no worries if you couldn't get all the answers for this one, okay? The important thing is here is to try and to really try to understand whether it's an active or the passive form of the verbs, okay? So let's try to complete together. So number 1 says, one woman at one end of the box. Tricky one. I think here we have the verb hides, right? In the active form. Because we're saying a woman does something. Not something is done by the woman. Yeah? Good. Let's see number 2. A second woman into the box. So, again, we don't have by here, so we don't have like this idea of being done by someone else. So probably active voice as well. So a second woman gets into the box. Number 3, she puts her head out of one end and what? Also here we have she puts. So this is active. So probably the next part is also active as well, right? So, and holds her legs to her chest with her arms. You know, when you hug your legs, you know, when you're doing exercise or something. And at the same time, the first woman pushes her legs out of the other end. Again, active voice. She is doing something. She's not being the object. She's not receiving the action. Okay? 4. The box in half by the magician. Here we have a person at the end who does the action. So if we have the person who does the action after the by the magician, probably the beginning of the sentence is in the passive voice, right? So we can say the box is cut, okay? Important. Remember, not all verbs in English, they change their forms when we move into the past form or the past participle form, right? Because cut, for example, is one example. I say cut in the infinitive present, cut in the past, and cut in the past participle. Different from do, for example, because do is do, deed, done. Okay, so remember this. And finally, number 4, the ends of the box apart to show that it has been cut into. So something is done to the ends of the box. It's not the ends of the box, they do something, especially because it's really difficult to imagine the ends of a box, so the final parts of the box doing something. So probably here, and only the verb pull here, right? So the ends of the box, plural, right? So they are pulled apart to show that it has been cut in two. Okay, could you understand this? The difference between the active ones to the passive ones? I hope you could. And if you couldn't, guys, try to go back to the sentences, read them again, and try to analyze what makes sentences 4 and 5 different from sentences 1, 2, and 3. And maybe talk to your teacher if you continue to have doubts. Okay? Very good. So let's check our answers and see if we got them right. Very good. Well done, guys. Well done. So this is the end for this grammar topic over here. We'll see each other again in the next video, still on Unit 6. Thank you. Bye.